Hello, and welcome to NC Insights Innovators, the voices shaping North Carolina's economic landscape. I'm your host, Yvonne Morrison, with MVP Video and Promotions. And with us today is Cecilia Holden. She is with myFutureNC, which is a statewide organization that focuses on educational attainment to support North Carolina's economy and rapidly growing workforce needs. Their main goal is for 2 million North Carolinians ages 25 to 44 to earn an industry-valued certification or post-secondary degree by 2030. Cecilia has served as the Chief of Staff for the North Carolina Department of Commerce and Director of Government and Community Affairs for the State Board of Education. Her private sector experience includes a career with IBM, as well as a registered investment advisory firm. Cecilia holds a Master's of Business Administration from Duke University, a Certificate of Public Administration from the University of North Carolina School of Government, and a Bachelor of Science degree in Computer Science and Business from the University of North Carolina at Wilmington. Cecilia, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thrilled to be here.
It sounds like myFutureNC is really has your finger on the pulse of the future of North Carolina because, as you said many times, education is economic development. Why is that?
I like to say that education is economic development because when you think about it, the number one differentiator for any site selector when they're trying to figure out where they're going to locate a business is there an educated workforce? Do they have the employees they need in order to fill the jobs that they are planning to bring to that area of the state, or if they're planning to grow additional jobs in that area of the state? And so when we think about education, that is the path forward for individuals to have economic prosperity, which then feeds back into the local economy and builds on that. Additionally, education is public safety. Education is quality health. And of course, all of those things feed into the local economy.
So the goal of having 2 million North Carolinians to have some type of post-secondary degree or certificate, that's a lofty goal. And it's so important. Why does the state need that?
When you look at the forecasting that data and research would show, it would demonstrate that we're going to need 2 million people, or 2/3 of our jobs, to have some level of education beyond high school. And so based on some data that was done by Georgetown University back in, I think, 2017 timeframe, the projection showed that we were going to need as a state 2 million people, and in that age bracket that's prime working age of 25 to 44, that would have either an industry valued credential or a post-secondary college degree by the year 2030. So it's all based on data and research and the forecasting of where our state is headed.
So how close are we to attaining that goal?
Well, I'm excited to share that earlier this year in February, we released that we are absolutely making progress. So we currently have 1.7 million towards 2 million by 2030, which is great. We have increased in terms of the number of degrees and credentials since we started tracking in 2019. We've increased about 215,000 additional degrees or credentials. If we look at all 100 counties, what I can share is that we want to see progress in all 100 counties. And so there's good news and not such good news, or opportunities, should we say. We've got 100 counties in North Carolina. 79 have increased in educational attainment since 2019. Mm-hmm. That is great, but we want all 100. And so when we think about the 21 that have not increased in educational attainment, those are our rural communities. And so we certainly want to do everything we can to double down and see progress in all 100 between now and 2030 and beyond.
So what are the 79 counties who have attained their educational goals? What are they doing differently?
So they haven't. We've got a couple that have actually achieved their local goal, but we still are all tracking towards the goal by 2030. Gotcha. The ones that have increased and increased pretty significantly, I think that the one key ingredient there is leadership matters. And so cross-sector collaboration is critical to being able to increase in educational attainment. When you look at the economy and you look at all the different disparate piece parts of what produces workforce talent, our governance structures lead us to have siloed education systems, siloed Chamber of Commerce or Economic Development, county government, et cetera.
Right.
And so in these local communities that we're seeing progress, they are cross-sector collaborating all day long. I'll share with you some fun stuff. I'll give one example. Here we are in Burlington, North Carolina, and so Alamance Community College, I'll give a shout out to the good work that's underway there.
They are fabulous.
They are awesome, and they partner really well. When we think about cross-sector collaboration, you know, it's K-12, it is community college, it's your 4 years, it's Chamber of Commerce, economic developers, counties of your county commissioners, and then you know, everyone in between. Business and industry is critical in these conversations too. Alamance Community College has a new initiative that I was fortunate to be a part of the announcement last year, and that is something called Parent Promise. And so for students who are dually enrolled in both high school and community college, their parents are offered a free community college course.
Really?
As part of this. And
Wow.
so it's done with philanthropic funding. But that's just one example of some great work that's underway. So I'll give a shout out to Alamance Community College since we're right here in Burlington.
Yeah, they do so much good work. Always in the news for many positive programs.
That's right.
So you said that having an effective educator in every classroom is so important. How do we do that with a teacher shortage in our state?
Well, I'm going to liken that to the healthcare sector. We keep hearing we need more nurses, we need more healthcare workers. And education is an industry sector all in itself. And often it might be the biggest employer in some of our rural communities. And so it is an industry sector. So we have to produce the talent necessary for that industry sector, just like we do every other industry sector. And if you don't have an effective educator in every single classroom, you don't have a skilled workforce in any industry sector. So it begins in that classroom. So how do we do that? You know, I think it's really locking arms and doing things differently and innovatively. I think that we've got to change the message about the importance of being a teacher, because there's a lot of benefits to being in the classroom. And if you're passionate about helping others learn and grow, certainly that's one of the best positions that you can be in. I would say, you know, start with the messaging, grow your own programs. How can we bring back people into the workforce and get them through some of our educator preparation programs so that they can go into the classroom? It's not a bad retirement system. And so if there's an opportunity to even bring back adults and get them the proper training so that they can be an effective educator in the classroom, there's lots of opportunities that we could explore. And we are exploring.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Super important. We spoke to Lauren Hill recently, who's the Carolina Corps Regional Economic Development Director. And he stressed the importance of having an educated workforce.
Sure.
So it sounds like myFutureNC is really feeding into and helping these other organizations, especially economic developers. Is that true? And how are they responding to what you're doing?
So clearly they've had some fantastic success right here in the
Absolutely.
Piedmont Triad area. Congratulations to all who have been involved. We like to think of ourselves as that intermediary organization. And so when you look at what the state of North Carolina is doing, we've been on the national radar. It is not myFutureNC, it is the state of North Carolina that's doing fantastic work. And so when we look at economic development opportunities, again, it goes back to you have to have an educated workforce. And so we're here to share best practices, lift up all the things that perhaps could help us to increase in educational attainment. We have 3 primary things that we focus on. One is we measure progress towards the goal. If you don't know where you're tracking, you don't know where to celebrate success, and you don't know the opportunities for growth. And so we do provide a county attainment profile for all 100 counties. It's rich with a lot of data. You can go to myfuturenc.org and explore the county profiles there. And so if you look at the data, the second thing that we do is we accelerate action across the state. We have half of our team is located at boots on the ground. We're state-led, but we know the work has to happen at the grassroots level.
Right.
And then the third thing we do is we advocate for good policy that helps to fill the gaps. And so in terms of helping our economic developers, we want to make sure that they have a product to sell when they're out there trying to recruit business and industry, and that product is an educated workforce.
Absolutely. And so many of the large and some of the developments that are not getting as much attention,
Yeah.
there's still millions of dollars in investments. We're still bringing lots of jobs that might be 30, 40, 50 at a time.
That's right.
But there's a lot of that going on. But of course, it's the big name ones that get the attention
Sure.
of the media, which is great. But they're all looking for that educated workforce. So I can't imagine anything more important than that. I mean, Jet Zero is bringing, 14,500
Yes.
estimated jobs? And I'm thinking, where are all these people going to come from? Aren't we at pretty full employment already? How do we do that?
Well, the state of North Carolina is fortunate. And I should touch on one thing that I think is super important. A lot of people say, are we importing talent in order to increase towards our educational attainment of 2 million by 2030? It's a both and. We are importing talent, but we're also growing our own talent. And so the population has grown by 5% since 2019. Our educational attainment rate has grown by 15%.
Really? Wow.
So we are growing our own talent, but we're also importing talent. So I think it's going to be a combination of where do we get this talent? Certainly we have to continue to grow our own and bring in great educated workforce.
So I read on your website about a program for parolees, people who have finished their sentences and reentering the community. That sounds fascinating. Can you tell us a little about that?
Of course. In February, we lifted up 5 different champions for attainment. And 3 of those were focused around the reentry population. One of those was work underway in Wayne County. Another one was work underway it is a collaborative that we lifted up specifically the work through Campbell University. And then the third was an individual, Greg Singleton, who's been working with the reentry population. There are, I think, about 18,000 people that are coming out of our prisons every year.
That many? I didn't realize
18,000.
that. Wow.
And so when we think about the population that typically is incarcerated, the data would show that many do not even have a high school diploma. Many do not have, education beyond high school. And so what can we do to equip them? Because they're going to be your neighbors. They're going to be out in our society as well. And so our goal is to try to equip them so that when they come back, they have jobs that employers are, interested in that particular population. And then how can we make sure that they're skilled up to do that?
So how do your programs help smaller businesses like entrepreneurs starting out and small businesses like ours?
Great. We had 3 evidence-based attainment strategies that we've kind of doubled down on this year. One is the incarcerated or reentry population. The other is around our military population. We have significant numbers of military in North Carolina that are exiting, and they also are interested in civilian work. And then the third is around employer-led educational attainment. And so we feel like it's a partnership between business and industry, and our small businesses make up a large portion of our jobs in North Carolina, so we cannot underlook the opportunities there. At the same time, many of our smaller businesses don't have the resources and don't have the ability to pool their resources. And so we're looking at some potential opportunities where there can be some pooled resources that might be able to help our smaller businesses. And when we say pooled resources, is there more, perhaps if you pulled several small businesses together, is there particular workforce needs that they have together that would perhaps make up a good community college program or something along those lines? The other is there's a fund out of New Hanover County that stood up called the Forward Fund. The Forward Fund is focused around helping individuals who cannot otherwise afford to go back to college be able to afford it, and it's a short-term loan, if you will, and they don't have to pay it back, and it's a no-interest loan. They don't have to pay it back until they get the job that then leads them to the wages that they were committed to on the front end. And so that also can help to feed that small business and large business workforce.
That's a fabulous program.
Oh, yeah. Fantastic.
There's so many adults, I think, who would benefit from that.
That's
who
right.
didn't get that degree, always wanted to finish raising their kids. Now's the time.
That's right. Adult learners.
That's right.
Adult learners. When we look at the percentage of individuals who don't have a degree or an industry-valued credential, it's about half of our workforce.
Really?
And so when you think about our K-12 student population, that's parents. And so how can we make sure that we're reaching the parents when their children are in school, and then at the same time affordability becomes an issue and time and childcare and transportation and other things. And so we're trying to look at the holistic approach, and we collaborate with different partners all across the state to try to plug these gaps.
Yeah, that's fabulous. So what are your organization's main legislative goals?
We focus on, we call it the leaks in the pipeline. So we look at, I'll say, career readiness. We look at the access to college and then completion of whenever you start. We want to make sure that you complete what you start so you don't end up with some college and no degree and debt.
Right.
And then we focus on the labor market, making sure that the jobs and the credentials earned are aligned with the labor market needs. This session, we're focused on plugging the gaps and the leaks in the pipeline. We've got several primary legislative priorities. One is we will always focus on our K-12 or earlier education. I like to say that it's $2 million by 2030 and beyond. The best thing we could do is put ourselves out of business. We do not want to be here forever. We'd prefer to have an educated workforce ongoing. And so we focus on K-12 just as much as we do our post-secondary. That means we focus on pre-K. NC Pre-K is a quality pre-K program, making sure we have more access for students there. We focus on the science of reading, making sure that students can read. So we've got legislative priorities that continue to push on those particular strands of work. But then in addition to that, we've come alongside our community college system partners, and we are advocating for a new funding formula called Propel NC, and it would provide funding that would be based on the labor market demands. And so whether it's a non-degree credential or a curriculum degree program, they would be weighted the same depending on what the labor market needs are. So it's labor market driven. So we're advocating alongside them for that. We're also advocating for the state's version, if you will, of short-term Pell, because right now we have $1 million total in the state coffers that will provide scholarships to students for non-degree credentials.
Oh.
So you hear about
that's
FAFSA, you hear about the federal Pell grants, you hear about the state need-based grants, but all of that is if you earn a college degree. It's not available for the trades and for the non-degree credentials. And so we know that there's a huge demand and a growing demand. So we're focused on trying to increase that. Apprenticeships is a big growing demand. And so we're focused on trying to get the community college system funding for Apprenticeship North Carolina. And then there's a couple of other pieces to the puzzle that, I could get deeper in the weeds, but I'm not sure we have time for. So we're out there advocating for the policies that will plug the gaps.
Well, here's an opportunity to maybe get into some of those weeds. Are there other initiatives or programs we haven't touched on that our viewers would find interesting?
Certainly.
Or helpful.
One of the things that I'm super excited about is that the governor has recently announced a council, and it's called the Council on Apprenticeships, Workforce and Apprenticeships. And the number one goal there is to have 2 million individuals with an industry-valued credential or a degree by the year 2030. So it's in perfect alignment with the goal that were put in place to champion. I want to double down on the fact that we are a nonpartisan organization with bipartisan support, and in 2019, this goal was codified into state law with bipartisan support, signature of the governor. One of the few things, if anything, they agreed on that year. I'm really excited that the new governor has come in and is also leveraging his platform to lift that up and to put a lot of strategies in place. That's one of the goals. The other goals lift up apprenticeships, work-based learning, and things like that. So as an organization, we are an intermediary. We try to look at what are the best practices, share those out, align even private funding or advocate for public funding, whatever that may look like. Some of the programs that we like to lift up, Surrey-Yadkin Works is a work-based learning opportunity that is in place in Surrey and Yadkin counties. And so that's just aligning K-12 community colleges with the labor market. It was supported by the local county commissioners as well as philanthropic dollars. Another one is Advance NC. That's focused on advanced manufacturing. We're fortunate to be partners in that work. And that's the Central Corridor, 19-county region in North Carolina, trying to fill the jobs that like Toyota is bringing here. So that's just a couple of different things. There are lots of opportunities across the state, and we're excited to see where North Carolina goes.
That sounds like wonderful work that you're doing, and I can't wait to watch it unfold. Are we going to make our goal?
Absolutely. We are going to exceed that goal. And it will be because of all the fantastic partners that we are blessed to have in our corridor.
That is fabulous. Thank you so much, Cecilia, for joining us. And if you would like to learn more about NC Insights and Innovators, please visit the website at the bottom of your screen. Thank you for watching, as always, and we'll see you next time.